And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
Because all the blessings that we're going to get, which is entailing the kingdom of heaven. Isaiah the 60th chapter, I'm going to start at the 10th verse and read on down. It says, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So the sons of strangers, that's talking about the actual strangers, the other nations, shall build up thy walls. We're going to have them in slavery. So they're going to be building the kingdom of heaven, because we're not building nothing. We're not lifting a hand to move nothing. It says, for in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. That's talking about the actual Gentiles. We're going to take all of their substance, and that their kings may be brought.
And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Verse 13. And the glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, the box together to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. So the land of Israel, the land of Jerusalem, is going to be made glorious. It's going to be made glorious once again. The kingdom is going to be built up. We had a taste of that during the time of Solomon's reign, which was for about 40 years. Verse 14, the sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet. And they shall call thee the city of the Lord. The word Zion means monument, the monument of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shall suck the breasts of kings, meaning we're going to take all their substance. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord thy power, the Lord and thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. For brass I will bring thee gold, and for iron I will bring thee silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. And I will make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and the power thy glory. The sun shall no more go down, meaning our kingdom is not going to go down. In other words, once we get back in power, we're going to be in power forever. The sun is never going to go down on our kingdom again. The sun is never going to set on our kingdom. We're going to always shine, and we're going to always be in that glory once we get into the kingdom of heaven. There's no more going back under the other nations. Esau's not going to rise back up and put us in captivity. Ham, Japheth, Ishmael, none of the other nations are going to rise up and take us down ever again. When we get on top this time, we're going to remain on top. Neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. So no more mourning, no more crying, no more vexation of spirit, no more weeping, no more hopelessness because of the condition that we're in as Israelites right now. Verse 21, thy people also shall be all righteous, they shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. Verse 2, little one shall become 1,000. This is in the kingdom. So what is this talking about? We're going to have sex. Again, like I said, the 2/3 that are going to pass in this destruction, the 2/3 are going to come back through the 1/3 that make it. The Lord shall two-thirds shall be cut off and die, and the third will I bring to fire. It says, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful that got there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right, and what we want to get into this morning, dealing with civil unrest. All right, data center pushbacks, energy lockdowns, and we're gonna start off, with things that's going to lead, to civil unrest. As we see, the devils, all right, are manipulating, the war with Iran, all right, to cause, civil unrest, all right, cause certain events to happen, a lot of mass shootings, a lot of you know, accusations dealing with sleeper cells. Okay, you got the data centers. People are, awakening, to the destructiveness of data centers. People are pushing back with that. So this devil has a lot going on at the same time. Ultimately the scriptures say, he's just going to lose it. The Lord is pushing Esau to really lose it, because it's going to be the worst here in America, because of America is the farthest behind as far as these other, all right, nations when it comes to New World Order. Okay, preparation, man. All right. So the elites are gonna put a lot of emphasis on putting hell in America, all right, to create desperation. And everything that we're seeing happening is to create desperation, especially here in America, man. Things are getting more violent. Okay, people are in economic strains. Okay, people are being strained economically. Okay, and it's only going to get worse. All right, and these devils going to have to do something drastic, to really cause major crisis in America, man. And we're seeing the build up to these things. So I got a few precepts, and y'all let me know how this mic sound. This new mic I'm testing, for the main camp. So y'all let me know how this mic sound. Bob Shah. But let's start here in the book of Second Thessalonians. All right, come out the water, bro. Uh, so let's go here to the book of Second Thessalonians, chapter 2. All right, in verse 7. It said, "For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way." All right, so the mystery of iniquity, okay, is speaking of Esau, Edom. And the Apostle Paul said he doth already work, okay, because these epistles was written during the time of Edom, Rome. Okay, and the Apostle Paul knew that Esau, Edom was the wicked. Okay, and he subtly said these things, throughout these epistles. Okay, that's why he says a mystery. These things was coded, these letters that was written to the churches, they was coded, because they was in the Roman Empire. Okay, so he was letting the church know, okay, that the people that was in power now, well, that's the mystery of iniquity. Okay, and he's been allowed to rule. He fell, Esau fell during the time of the Romans, but he was allowed to come back into power, all right, to finish his wicked reign. Okay, and we're in the end, okay, of Esau's rulership. This is his last time where the Lord would allow this man to rule the earth in wickedness, man. And on his way out, this devil would attempt to undermine the Most High by establishing, a new world order to extend his rulership and empire, man, his empire, okay, by undermining the Most High through technology, okay, and this is what we're on the doorsteps on, all right, because this global reset that this devil is attempting, okay, is to establish that new world order, okay, to undermine the Most High. Verse 8, it says, "And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming." So now in our time, this man has been revealed. Okay, as we awaken to who we are, well, one of the main things that we begin, all right, to identify is, who we are as a people, our power, the names of our power, the Heavenly Father named Yahweh, his son named Yahweh Shai, and we begin to identify Esau, the wicked, okay, the children of Satan, okay, we begin to identify him, okay, because this is the man that runs the earth, okay. When you look at the wickedness and the anti-Messiah, okay, society that dominates the earth, well, Esau, Edom, he's the progenitor of that, man. He's the facilitator, okay, of this great rebellion against righteousness in the earth, man. You know, he's the one that's forwarding it through, his media, his music, movies. Okay. He forced rebellion in every way, his technology. Okay. Because technology itself isn't wicked, but it's the way this nigga uses it and markets the technology, man. You know, as if he has a one up on the Most High, and that's why, all right, he's being consumed by the prophets because no matter what this devil do, okay, he cannot, all right, detour from prophecy, man. Okay, he subjugated the prophecy. I don't care what this nigga do, man. Don't give a damn. All right, if he have a meeting with 10 Satans, okay, he still got to go down that path of prophecy, man. Okay, and be destroyed. So he's being consumed. Okay, this devil's all over the place, got this going on, that going on. But guess what? It all results in this nigga being subjugated to prophecy, man. Okay, he's being consumed by the power of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai through prophecy, man. Okay, it says and shall destroy him with the brightness of his coming, and that's the coming of Yahweh Shai. Because everything that we're getting into, all right, well, the climax is this third world war, all right, going nuclear, okay, and the return of Yahweh Shai, okay, which is going to be which is going to finalize the judgment of Esau and the heathen, man. Okay, when Yahweh Shai enters this realm, it's over. Okay, Esau's kingdom is done. There ain't gonna be no back and forth. Yahweh Shai just coming to hit the gavel. Okay, it's gonna be quick work. You see? So everything that this devil has built up to, that's why the scriptures say, if a brother want to post that, I think that's Luke 10 and 18. All right, if a brother want to post that verse, Second Thessalonians 2 and 9 said, "Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders." Okay, whose coming is after the working of Satan. Okay, so we have to understand that the people that rule the planet Earth, all right, these Edomites we don't see, okay, and the Edomites we do see because Trump and all these guys, and Pete Hegseth, you can tell these are some real sick, twisted Edomites, man. Okay, but all these Edomites, okay, in these positions of leadership and power, okay, from the middle management class that we see, the middle management tier, okay, with Trump and them all the way up to the ones that we never see, they come in the energy of Satan, man. They are very satanic. These people are possessed by Satan running the earth, man. And the Lord has allowed them to tap into, the left hand and, tap into certain technology, okay, which are these lying wonders, man. Okay, and at the forefront of these lying wonders is this AI, okay, which this man has extremely hyped up, man. It's capable of doing, particular thing, but this man hypes up AI to be a god. Okay, this is a lying wonder, and a lot of people are deceived by this man's lying wonders, his technology, and what he projects his technology is going to do. And if you don't merge, with machines, you're going to be left behind. AI finna replace everybody. And it's coming to find out that these things are lying wonders, man. And the water y'all about Shemal shot for the light to where we can see this nigga for what it is, man. We can see Esau for what he is and everything that he's trying to do. Okay, to a lot of people, this is the best thing going. Okay, that's why when you keep reading, okay, verse 10, it says, and with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And this is Israelites, man, that refuse the truth in the latter days. Okay, because they're deceived by Satan. To them, Esau, okay, has the best thing going. Okay, even though they complain, a little bit here, a little bit there, okay, they still would rather have, all right, the way of Satan, man. A lot of our people are getting ready to choose Satan. A lot of our people are finna be on the front line, helping persecute the prophets, which we know eventually he's going to go their way. Okay, he's going to demonize the prophets. He's going to demonize Yahweh Shai. He's finna get ready to make that move. Okay, because he has to do these things, all right, before the end. See, the end doesn't come until this devil persecutes the prophets, Jacob's trouble, and the MOTB is mandated. Okay, so we know that's on the agenda. All right, so why this war? All right, because they're at war now. Ceasefire. Supposed to end tomorrow. We'll see how they go. Okay, which this devil, he has pushed a lot of misinformation, disinformation. So he turns the war, all right, into a distraction, all right. But we can't ignore it. We don't report on it as much as we used to, okay, because they're in war now. So it's gonna be back and forth. They're gonna be fighting, all right. But things pertaining to prophecy, certain, prophetic, nations, becoming active. We report on these things, man, because we know that this war, okay, is going to lead to the overthrow of Esau Edom. And Yahweh Shah wins this war, and all these nations lose, man. Okay? But as this war, all right, is in progress, okay, this devil has other things on the checklist, okay, that he has to pull off, man. You know, we're watching, from both sides. Okay, it says verse 11 says, and for this cause the Most High shall send them a strong delusion that they should believe a lie. Okay, because one of the things that is needed for this man's, okay, for his man's society to function, for Esau's kingdom to function, is that most people believe a lie. Okay, and he don't mind you believing a lie sprinkled with a little truth, as long as you believe a lie. Okay, as long as you act based on the lie. And a lot of people are getting ready to take this sea hip, based on the lie. Okay, and they're going to be punished for it, man. You see, a lot of our people are getting ready to take this sea hip because they've been given over to the strong delusion, man. Okay, to look at the so-called white man as a god. Okay, verse 12, it says that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness, man. Okay, and a lot of our people have pleasure in this unrighteous kingdom. Okay, because the most complaints is, our people just want, most people just want a little better economy, man. They don't care about Epstein. If you was to triple everybody's salary, people won't give a damn about Epstein. They make a little fuss about particular things now because they're catching hell. But if you triple everybody's salary, man, they would not complain about the wickedness of Esau Edom. Okay, they will have no complaints about Esau's wickedness, man. If you triple everybody's salary here in America, man, especially niggas, man. Okay, niggas will go get American outfit every day. Will be the 4th of July to a nigga, man. If you triple these niggas salaries, man, and then and that's gonna be part of the promise of the new world order is prosperity, man. You know, a major part of the pitch for the new world's order, okay, is going to be prosperity, man. Okay, and because our people are blind or operating in the dark, man. Okay, you know, they're gonna take the bait, man. You see, so we're just watching this devil. Got a few things I want to go into. Let's see, did the brother get that? Yeah, let's get this. This is the brother beyond Yashala, Luke 10 and 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Okay, it's gonna be quick. You see, it's gonna be quick, man. Esau Edom, he's gonna be removed from power instantly at the return of Yahushua. And this is what all prophecy leads to. Okay, and this is why we watch these things. This is why Yahushua, told us to watch, man. He constantly, Yahushua, the apostles, they constantly say, watch, man. The elder apostle Tahar, he's very big on what prophecy, man, watching, man. So let's go here to let's go here because you have these things going on now with supposedly there's an attack, all right, that's been happening, all right, with Sam Altman. Supposedly he's under attack. He's the guy with Open AI, okay, which you get the Chat GPT. So supposedly he's been under threat as of late, man. And we're gonna continue to see these things, man. Okay, because they're setting the stage up to come down hard, man. Okay, to come down hard on the civilians. See, you American civilians have no idea, okay, how the elites are gearing up, you know, to go to an overt war. Okay, to go to an overt war, which is an open war with you civilians, man. Okay, and it's gonna be through shortages, okay, food famine, okay. They're gonna cause, the atmosphere to get purged. Like they're gonna cause, because see, to get people to purge, you just need the atmosphere, man. And they're gonna bring it. The Lord's gonna allow them to bring it. Okay, because Esau, he's a tool of judgment on the left hand side before he's judged, man. Okay, and one thing about it, these devils are master when it comes to, all right, terrorizing civilians, man. Okay, so let's play this.
Is 100% dead.
People are angry, but more importantly, people are reaching a point where they feel they have nothing left to lose. So they're acting on that rage. Sam Altman was targeted twice in the same weekend. A 20-year-old went to Altman's San Francisco home and threw a Molotov cocktail at it. He then went to OpenAI's headquarters, threw a chair at the glass doors, and threatened to burn the building down. When police found him, they also found a document describing the risks AI poses. It was titled, Some Words on the Matter of Our Impending Extinction. There were also names and addresses of other AI executives, board members, and investors. Less than 48 hours later, 2 more people were arrested after shots were fired outside Altman's home. Sam Altman responds to this incident on his blog. He opens it with a photo of his child and husband.
And you see how sick this is, man. Okay, and Esau's getting ready to play the victim. All right, because Altman, all right, which he's a small hat. But you see how sick and twisted this is, man. These are the people, all right, that are in leadership positions of the earth, man. Okay, a son and a husband. What you think is going to happen to all right, to this child, man? Okay, these niggas have whole husbands out here. The nigga from the president from French, Emmanuel Macron, whole husband, man. This is a sick society. This is Sodom. Okay, the earth is being ran by sodomites, Satanists, and PDF files, man. Okay, and this is why the Lord is causing things to speed up. The Lord finna wrap this up, man. And this is just normal, no uproar. Okay.
A clear attempt to humanize himself. He then goes on to claim, working towards prosperity for everyone, empowering all people, and advancing science and technology are moral obligations for me. This from a man whose company just closed their latest funding round, valuing OpenAI at $852 billion. Extreme wealth concentrated among a very small group of investors. And let's not forget, OpenAI is not profitable. They're burning through billions, yet all of a sudden they're worth $852 billion? Analysts have been warning for months about circular deals. NVIDIA invests in OpenAI. OpenAI uses that money to buy NVIDIA chips. They both claim they made money. Remember, when the AI bubble bursts, Sam Altman will be fine. He's a billionaire. But for regular people, we will suffer the consequences of his actions. Yet his moral obligation is prosperity for everyone.
And that was the lie with AI. Elon Musk, he was using the sell pitch that look, AI is going to do the jobs and it's going to be so productive. Okay. That it's going to, the economy is going to grow, by so much to where we're just going to give y'all UBI. Y'all can go enjoy the world while AI does the menial task. Okay. Which is a goddamn lie, man. They plan to depopulate. Okay, when people hear about this UBI, well, they don't plan on billions of you being here for UBI. Okay, they don't tell you that part, the depopulation part. Okay, and AI is not capable of what they push it to do. It can do particular things, but was being found out, okay, as of late, man, that the AI was highly overrated and hyped. Okay, but he's gonna constantly push that lie. See, he don't care. All right, that is not true. That's one thing about Esau. He don't care if it's not true. Long as he can get people to believe the lie, okay, he gonna go with his move, man. Okay, AI is being found to be a major lying wonder, man. Okay, with this promise of a utopia. You see, now no, this is going to be a digital nightmare that this devil's establishing, man. A control system like the earth has never seen. Okay, now, like I say, more than likely, this is something staged, for the sake of a psyop, something they can use to, enforce, certain laws. But we're going to see, man, because we know these devils are for sure. They're going to tighten down in America, man. All right, to really move the needle, to create desperation, okay, in America, man. So let's play this a little more.
Then compares the desire to control AGI to Sauron's ring from Lord of the Rings. This all-consuming power that makes people do crazy things. And his solution, he says, is that AI must be democratized, that no one should hold the ring. Can we please cut the bullshit? OpenAI's most powerful models are locked behind a subscription. OpenAI is majority backed by Microsoft, Amazon, and SoftBank. He claims AI needs regulation while spending $3 million on lobbyists in 2025 alone to make sure meaningful regulation doesn't happen. There is nothing democratic about any of this. And then he closes it with, we should de-escalate the rhetoric. The call is coming from inside the house. He just spent this entire post comparing his technology to the most evil artifact in literary history.
And they're telling you in your face that this AI is going to be a control system. Okay, it's already up and running in China. Look at the China surveillance state. We looked into it before. We might revisit it again, but you look into the China surveillance state. They have a social credit score. Okay, a social credit score is up and running. Okay, this is what they want to bring, man. The control system. This is what this global reset is all about. Okay, in their mind, they're going to utilize this war, okay, for a global reset. All right, and that's why you're going to continue to see, okay, the scrapes close, okay, because it plays into their narrative of an energy shortage, man. Okay, matter of fact, let's go from there. I say she does pretty good videos. I've been watching her a little bit more. Forgot the chick name, but I'll put the clip up here. Okay. And then I got one more quick video Okay, because these devils are setting it up, man. Like they gotta, persecute the prophet, man. Brother wanna post that in Matthew, then shall you be hated for my name's sake. Okay, these things have to come to pass. All right, before this war goes nuclear, man. This devil has a checklist of things to do. Then the end shall come. All right, so let's go here. And this devil is getting tacky as hell, man. So listen to this report here. Okay, so now you have, just people that can just walk up to Sam Altman house and throw mocktail, all right, mock talk, cocktails, whatever you call them, goddamn thing, cocktail, whatever. All right, homemade, explosives. Okay, so you got 20-year-olds, you can just stop by, you can just scroll by Sam Altman house and throw a homemade explosive. Okay, then go to the headquarters and threaten to burn it down. Okay, yeah, right, man. All right, and they want people to revolt. They want people to go crazy against AI, man. You know, but these devils, they're gonna have to do something drastic, man, because they done took, all right, the backbone from you Americans, man, and it's gonna take something drastic. Okay, it's gonna take something dire for you Americans to really, riot like they want you to riot, man. Okay, and they want you Americans to purge each other, man. Okay, but let's just go here because the scripture talk about the accuser of our brethren, which we know eventually, all right, who he's going to make the face, okay, of domestic terrorism. Okay, we already knows who's the mystery character, all right, that he's going to unveil, all right, in domestic terrorism. All right, but just these little things that happen show you what the devil was gearing up for.
Folks, please share this video with friends and family. I want you to let other individuals know that these times are getting harder. This is that woman that was charged with trafficking arms for Iran here on American soil.
Trafficking arms on behalf of the Iranian government. Correspondent Max Gordon is in the Southland with more on that for us. Max, a
4-year-old Shamim Mafi, an Iranian national now living in the LA area, was arrested at LAX just before getting on a flight to Turkey. She's accused of trafficking arms on behalf of the Iranian government.
Now you see how crazy that sounds? Okay, so some random chick from Iran is in LA and she's running arms for Iran. Okay. What the hell does Iran need? A random, chick in LA to run arms for them when they got China and Russia giving them some of the most high-tech weaponry on the planet Earth. What the hell can she give Iran? Okay, China been pulling up with cargo ships of weaponry. Okay, missile defense, cyber attack, satellites, man. Okay, what the hell? How can she run arms to Iran, man? You see how crazy this nigga sound, man? How tacky this nigga's getting, man? Okay, and you're gonna have Edomites like this guy here. I don't watch a lot of him. He's pretty much low level when it comes to news, but he's, these one of these Edomites that, that speak on a few little things, but ultimately he has hope for America. All right. I want you to listen to his response. And it's going to be a lot of simple Americans when this devil push, all right, this propaganda against the prophets. Okay. Don't be surprised if they say, oh, this brother is running arms for Iran. Don't be surprised. All right. They get the clips of us, speaking about the war and you say, well, he's running. Come to find out, he's really, you see, the accuser of the brethren, man. All right. So let's listen to his response because a lot of these simple Americans, as scripture say, the simple believe every word. Okay? How simple can you be if you believe, all right, that this random chick, all right, so-called Iranian chick is in LA, okay, making some moves that's going to help Iran in the war with America, man. Get the hell out of here.
Now, this is exactly what I warned you about. This person has been living in the country for years. For all appearances, intents, and purposes, They were no different than any other American citizen. They've been naturalized, nationalized, integrated, and they walk among every other American citizen of an enemy country. And these are the operatives that you will see acting against the interests of the American people after Iran called their operatives to act on homeland soil. This is made.
There we go. And people are going to just run with it. You know, if a brother want to get that, and I think that's Proverbs 14, how to simple believe. Okay, every word. You know, whether it's 14 and 12 or 14 and 15. All right, Proverbs. This is GMS. All right, Jacob will prevail. It says Matthew 10 and 22, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endured to the end, the same shall be saved. Okay, so we know eventually the devil, you know, he's going to concentrate, you know, his propaganda on the prophets, man. You know, he's going to demonize Yahushua, the name of Yahushua. He's going to demonize the doctrine. You know, he's going to link us to all type of madness, all right, that he got going on. Okay, and we're going to be looked at as the problem of the earth. Okay, and you're going to have these simple Americans, because a lot of these Americans, they just want to get back to some normalcy, man. Okay, like I say, their only complaint really is the economy, man. Okay, but if you triple these Americans' salary, okay, you won't hear no complaints from nobody. When nobody be doing podcasts, these niggas will be chilling. Okay, these niggas will be chilling in America. They won't give a damn about what American military doing. They won't say nothing about Epstein. The reason why, all right, these people, all right, have some type of opinion about particular things is because, all right, they're catching hell economically, man. That's the only reason they have something to say about America, because they're catching hell. Okay, but it's the Lord that got a cruel Lord over you Edomites, man, over you Americans, man. So this is the brother. Let's go here. It's the brother Malachi. All right, Kwam Wa'ala. All right, this is Proverbs 14 and 5. The simple believe every word, but the prudent man looketh well into his going. Okay, so the simple, all right, which is most of you Americans, they're going to believe, and then the devil really push their propaganda, you know, as if we're, all right, some type of extension of, you know, whatever he link us to, man. Okay, like we're just this, you know, this operating, you know, this operative militant, you know, group that's wreaking havoc in America. However he spin it, man, he's going to spin something for sure, because he has to. Okay, it's part of prophecy, man. You know, so in the midst of, you know, this ongoing war, he's gonna spin off these other prophecies in the midst of this, man. Okay, and it's the perfect time to do it. Okay, so let's go here, because you got this going on. All right, we're beginning to see. All right, you know, they're beginning to speak about, okay, lockdowns, man. You know, which brother's been talking about another lockdown for a while, but we didn't know what angle he was going to come from. You know, there was a time, you know, he brought out the monkeypox. You know, we thought he was going to run with that. Okay, he dialed it down. Okay, there's a few more little diseases that he tried, you know, hype up, and he, you know, people weren't biting on it. But now with this energy thing, okay, because of this war, it's looking like he's going to make this one stick. You know, Alvarez how he do, man, but he ain't got the time to keep pump faking. This nigga got to come on with the come on. Okay, pressure on Esau, man. So let's play a little bit of this, okay? Because we know how these lockdowns started. They was in this country, then they hit this country, then they hit this country, they hit this sector, and then eventually the earth was on lockdown, basically, man. Okay, so we're gonna see, man. We're gonna watch these things and see. So let's play this.
Europe is set to begin energy lockdowns in the next few weeks. A few weeks ago, Russia actually predicted this. They said that Europe was about to impose these restrictions, and now here we are. According to multiple reports, here you go, Financial Times, Brussels pushes remote working to ease energy crisis. Sounds fun. And they put a cat in the photo. Like, you'll be home with your cat, so no big deal. She's gonna get a big fluffy
Look
cat.
how happy she is there.
She's so happy to be with her cat.
Does she have a warm beverage too?
She's got a nice little plant and a
man,
cat.
I want to work there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to work there too.
Now all you need is like a puppy or like a nice warm bed. So the EU is pushing remote work now to tackle energy crisis. Brussels wants to start by introducing one mandatory workday from home per week as these energy prices continue and keep rising. Ursula von der Leyen just a few days ago already was laying the groundwork for this. Listen.
Is how can we reduce the demand? Because of course the least expensive energy is the energy that is not used. We should reduce demand while
we should reduce demand. Of course, Jim Ferguson joins us now from the UK. He has been watching this very, very closely. Jim, of course, is the founder of Freedom Train International and one of the keenest observers of this globalist tyranny that's unfolding. Jim, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks a lot, Clayton. It's always good to be on with you and Natalie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure. Well, you might, next time we see you, have to be working from home. So we wouldn't have a chance to have you in a studio because of these new laws. But, I think any idiot could have looked at this and seen that this was going to come from the EU, from Europe, that these energy restrictions were going to start flowing. And here we are. What do you think, just broadly at a big picture level, of what this is going to mean for the people of Europe?
Well, from a strategic viewpoint, the pressures on the supplies are quite critical. We've been hearing about jet fuel running out in Europe in the next 6 weeks, and that was reported a week or so ago. I wrote an article about 3 weeks ago on the potential for energy lockdowns. I think really, if you want to take it from a strategic viewpoint, it's this. When governments start trying to manage demand, it tells you everything, because it basically means if they're managing demand, it's because they're unsure about managing the supply. And that's going to affect things on a massive scale, not just in Europe, it's already impacting truckers and farmers in Australia, with food prices due to rise probably within the next 3 weeks by about 20 to 30%. Hard-pressed families are already feeling the struggle already. So when that happens, because farmers use so much diesel to get the crops to market, to harvest them, and then the trucks have to supply them, that is going to put critical pressure on those supply chains. And there are warnings now that there could be food shortages as well. Indeed, I went into the local supermarket there just a couple of days ago, and I started to see shelves that were starting to empty. Now, one thing people don't always realize is that the tins of beans and soups and other things that are canned products are usually from last year's harvest, which means it takes that length of time to get them out and developed and produced and into market and into the shops. What could happen is it will most likely put up food prices dramatically, but it could cause real shortages. But the following year is when we might see it really escalating if they don't sort out this mess in the Straits of Hormuz and free up that international global shipping routes.
And they're going to keep that thing going, because the Lord got to where Esau got to ride the wave of prophecy, man. Okay? It's the Lord that want to keep this going. You see? So we're going to see a continuation of that, more than likely. They're going to get to, because even if they don't get back to fighting, all right, they got it set up to where Iran controlled the Straits, because it's not that the Straits of Hormuz is closed, okay? It's Iran has control of it, okay? And they're only taking you one, okay, in certain other currencies and Bitcoin, all right, which what destroys the dollar. And if you're, all right, if you refuse to pay in any other currency, okay, well, your oil don't move, okay? Now, at the end of the day, we can go into, the speculation of, okay, how much, the elites are involved in this and that, which we know they manipulate everything, okay, within every government, okay? But one thing about it is the results, okay? Because it ain't about a thing of opening the Strait of Hormuz. No, Iran has control over it now, okay? And they've shown, and they've told, and with these so-called negotiations, is non-negotiable about, the control of the Straits. They'll never get that back. Okay, there'll never be a time where the Straits or Hormuz will go back to being a open water, all right, trading, okay, to where you can just come in, get your product, and leave out. Nah, man, that's gone. Okay, so this current situation is locked in right now with the Strait of Hormuz. You know, now the details of this and that and behind the scenes, what's going, we can only speculate. But we're seeing what it is, and we know they're locked in. Okay, for the long haul. Ain't no going back to and I say in the oil that comes through, if they start paying, these nations start paying the yuan, they're just gonna tank the dollar, man. So it just everything that's in place, which the elites wanted to tank the dollar. Okay, the elites want the Straits to stay closed. Okay, because it plays into their narrative with this energy crisis, man. Okay, and it's gonna play into their narrative with the petrodollar collapse, man. Okay, for them to do a reset, because they have to do a reset, man. So while this thing plays out, all right, we're gonna see, nation by nation, all right, go into a crisis, man. And they do it in these other nations that are less armed. It's easy to shut down South Korea. Okay, it's easy to shut down a Thailand, okay, or Japan, or Australia. It's easy to shut those places down without a bunch of kickback. Okay, but they know America, all right, this gonna be their work. Okay, yeah, America, they know it's gonna be the bloodiest in America when they really, all right, come with another harsh lockdown, man. All right, and we know this lockdown is gonna be way more severe. Okay, so let's play this some more.
The pressure's on, but to from a globalist point of view, they are loving it because it gives them greater control. They will most likely start to introduce fear. Now, nothing at the moment is legal. It's not mandatory yet, but we saw what happened during the COVID era.
Right.
It started off with that easy sell, safe and effective. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we don't see that happening, where there will be increased taxes, fines for people that go out in their cars. If they want to go to the seaside or out from around the country, your neighbors are going to be picking up the phone and reporting you for it. That's just where it's going. And it's very, very deeply concerning.
Right. If you read this Financial Times article, it says these are recommendations. They're just incentivizing you to make your employees stay home once a week or, use renewables and things. It's just an incentive for now. But those of us who did live in Europe during the pandemic, remember, here's a crazy story. We were at in the little town of Bruges, we were at a Christmas lights walk in Belgium, where you walk around the town and see the Christmas lights. And every half mile or so, we had to show our QR code that showed that we had a recent negative COVID test. And if we didn't, you cannot walk outside on this path to look at Christmas lights.
In the cold.
At night, outside, in the cold, we couldn't do it. We had to have recent negative COVID tests for an outdoor Christmas walk. These are the ways. And Europeans, they bend over for these kind of rules. Yes, sure, we'll do that. Here you go. The families were doing it. That was just the way it was.
Well, don't you hate when people say, I told you so? Yeah, that's me, actually, because rest, it's here. It's higher prices ahead. And they get it. They know what's coming. Isn't it time? It's easy to do. Bonus metals with a quality.
This is going to...
The structure is in place to enforce this, and Europeans will have no pushback, right?
Absolutely right, Natalie. And I remember those circumstances very well indeed, because it was happening all over the world at that point. And I believe this is going to go global as well. As I say, Australia is already feeling the pinch. There are farming communities in Asia that are desperate now for fuel. We saw Albanese, the leader of the Australian government there, the Prime Minister, going to Asian countries and then bragging about how he was able to get 1 million litres of diesel, but actually looked into the detail of the deal. 1 million litre or 100 million litres is only 1 day's supply. I think they use about 90 million litres per day in Australia.
And these nations, all right, are all energy intense. These industrial. See, Esau has this industrial, society set up where it's highly energy intensive. Okay, and these data centers and the digital public infrastructure is going to cost more energy, man. So they want to depopulate. Okay, and they want people to get used to being rationed energy, man. Because see, this devil was trying to he's trying to play the Most High, but he has so many limitations, man. Okay, so he wants to get people used to having energy rationed to them. Those that he plans on surviving. All right, this color. Okay, so he wants people to start getting used to having energy rationed to him, man, because he needs a lot of energy. Okay, to run this infrastructure, digital infrastructure, man. Okay, which America uses 20% of the world's energy consumption. You know, 100. It takes 100 million barrels to run. All right, the world's energy needs, and America used 20 million barrels. China use 16, 17 million barrels, man. Okay, so most of the world's energy consumption is between America and China, man. So you got to factor that in, these energy wars that these nations have amongst one another. Okay, as they want to go into the new world order with leverage. Okay, all this is happening. There's never just one reason why these devils are doing, particular things. They always have, all right, they always have other narratives within narratives that's going on. Okay, so let's play this.
So, it's all sound bites. The reality is the pressure's on. If they cannot manage the demand, which is now what they're talking about by confining people to be at home mandatory for one day, for example, it's because they can't manage the supply. And Europe is energy poor. They just don't have the energy that they need. Of course, picking fights with Russia over Ukraine has harmed them greatly. The pipeline that was taking the gas, the fuel in that got blown up, of course, they felt the pinch there as well. One country that could be benefiting from all of this, of course, is the United States, because they do produce a lot of oil and a lot of gas. And President Trump has said, if you feel that you need it, buy it from us. But once again, we've seen reports just within the last 2-3 days of 200 tankers heading directly to the United States, some of them super tankers that can carry up to 2 million barrels of oil a day. But I think the real pressure is coming. And I mean, I'm planning to go back to Europe again, but I'm looking at the airline availability. We've seen KLM, a Dutch airline that I fly with a lot, going off to different countries, saying that they're grounding hundreds of flights. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think what the globalist mentality is, it's more lockdowns, it's more control, it's more fear. Yes. And that's something we've always got to be really careful about. And that's why I always really respect you guys on Redacted, because you're always at the forefront, at the cutting edge of getting the news out. And I think, as we always say in Freedom Train International, don't be scared, be prepared. We're telling our members now, get ready, accelerate your preparations, make sure that you're not going to be left without, because this could go a lot further. I don't think it's going to be over in a matter of days or weeks. I think it might go on a lot longer. And the tension in the Middle East right now is huge. So we could even see that situation escalating further.
People in the chat.
Yeah, we're sure going to see it escalate further, because prophecy say. And see, people think that they can prep within their own means. You people have no idea of what's coming, how bad this going to be. Okay, and then even with this whole thing of, America got plenty of oil. America produces the most oil in the world, but they use the most oil. So America don't have a bunch of oil to sell like that. Now they got natural gas to sell. Okay, but America pretty much uses all the oil that they produce, and that's why they have to get, because America produces like 13, and you look it up, about 13.5 million barrels of oil a day. Okay, remember, they use 20 million barrel oils a day for energy consumption. Okay, so if they're only producing 13 million barrels of oil, and that's why they have to get 7 to 6 million barrels of oil per day imported from Canada. Okay, America don't need the Straits of Hormuz, all right, for oil. Okay, they're way more, energy, you know, um, independent than most nations. That's why the price is going up in America. Is really, all right, a hoax. But guess what? The American government don't own the oil companies. And see, people think, oh, America winning, you got the oil. No, you don't got a goddamn thing. You don't benefit from oil going up. Okay, these people are private, okay, companies, man. Okay, they gonna sell the oil to the American people the same price they sell it to everybody else in the world. Okay, that's why it's a global oil market. Okay, well, these few billionaires, all right, get wealthy off the masses, man. You see? So America got a lot of oil. Nigga, that's not your oil. You don't own no part of these companies, man. Okay? You don't benefit at all. Your gas price is still gonna be high as hell. Okay? Because they the same price that they charge Australia, they gonna charge you. Okay, so you don't benefit off anything America benefits from. Only a few corporations benefit off America, man. Okay, so America produces a lot of oil, but it uses a lot of oil. So the fact that it has to be subsidized, American oil production has to be subsidized with Canada oil. Now they got natural gas in surplus that they sell. Okay, but as far as is having this crazy amount of oil to sell, like they can fill that void in the market. America doesn't have enough surplus oil to fill the voids that's in the market now due to, all right, the Strait, being under control of Iran. Okay, so um let's go from here. Got another video. I got one more. Um, okay, let's go here. Play the first few minutes of this. Okay, because you Americans just have no idea about your government is at war with you. You Americans missed the mark, and you still think, all right, that you have some type of functioning government that has your interests in mind. That's been gone. Okay, Trump that he was the biggest switching bait ever. He hyped you up on that campaign. The so-called assassination. Now he's, the hero. He was chosen by God. You see. So he was the great white hope that was sold to you by the elites. Okay. And all he done is reeled you into a war. Okay. To where these corporations are just feasting off you American people, man. Okay. And they plan on getting rid of a lot of you, man. Because a lot of this technology, okay, this AI is going to be used to unalive a lot of you Americans, man. Okay. It's gonna get crazy in America, man, because the devil knows he have but a short time. Okay, and America has to get on par. Okay, and it has to get modified for this new world order. So a lot of privileges, a lot of rights, and they need the American population to bend the knee to their agenda, and it's gonna be in blood. Okay, so let's play this.
You have to understand that you're not doing something that they were not ready for. They were literally provoking you to do it. That's exactly what they wanted you to do, because it's exactly what they are ready for. That's what they're ready for you to do. You understand me? So when you do that, you're not actually doing anything whatsoever except expedite your own oppression. Now, obviously, this whole system, this whole management system, you can call it, has been intensified and refined, for lack of a better word, to its most extreme form in Palestine. Population classification, movement control, right? administrative detention without charge, collective punishment, AI generated targeting lists, facial recognition, and so forth. All of this the Israelis have been doing. Predictive targeting, different legal regimes for different people based upon their classifications. Israel's surveillance and control system has been refined over decades into something that is so comprehensive, that's so technically ruthless, and has been so administratively normalized and so forth. And you never understood this. You never understood that Israel has always just been a research and development contractor for the United States of America, meaning what they develop over there has always been intended for use by America and in America. Do you understand? Gaza and the West Bank and the apartheid system within so-called Israel, this is nothing but a laboratory for developing techniques for domestic deployment in the United States, for American law enforcement, through exchange programs and whatnot, through transfers of training and technology and so forth. They were always developing this as R&D contractors for the U.S. security state. You've misunderstood the relationship. The Israelis, the IDF, and so on, coming over and working with the New York Police Department and across the United States. That's not Israel cultivating these relationships. No, this is Israel delivering what America ordered. Do it first to the Palestinians to prove that it works, so that then we can do it domestically in America. The techniques that were tested and perfected against the Palestinians are being transferred directly into American domestic policing and American domestic security infrastructure, because that was always the intention. The people of Gaza, the people of the West Bank, have been the unwilling laboratory in which the tools of your future management have been developed. Do you understand me? This is what I mean about trying to understand the context that you're actually living in. America is not a country in the way that most people, including most Americans, the way that you think about it. No, America is a platform, or it has become anyway, a platform, a territorial and institutional platform through which a global financial class can project power, can accumulate wealth, and can manage populations domestically. And politicians are nothing but employees. They're middle management at best. They serve at the pleasure of the actual ownership class, and they know it. I'm talking about the financial powers, the private sector powers, the owners who sit above the governments, above parties, above elections. That layer that persists regardless of who wins what election. The OCGFC, the owners and controllers of global financialized capital, who have no loyalty to any nation, including America. They have loyalty only to the perpetuation and the expansion of a private sector power system that they control. The American people are not the constituents of that system. They're just inputs in that system.
In America, for a long time, because America had a lot of national pride, okay, but not knowing, that there was always, all right, a shadow government that had a global agenda, okay, and America was just a vehicle to get the elites to this point, okay. That's why we're seeing America, the American society, okay, being dismantled. You see, the American military never protected, okay, American citizens. What war, all right, has America fought, okay, to protect its citizens from an invading or potential threat to America? None. Okay? Every war has been in the interest of the bankers to move the needle towards global control. Okay? Every war that America has been involved in, man. All right, big and small. Vietnam, you go into Vietnam. The Vietnamese was not a threat to America. They don't even have the capability. A lot of these nations that America goes to war with don't even have the capability of being a threat to America. Okay? Not one Vietnamese soldier could threaten the American homeland in any type of way. Okay? Not one Iraqi soldier could be a threat to the American homeland in any type of way. Not one Afghanistan soldier, not one Syrian soldier, okay, could be a threat to the American homeland in any type of way. Okay, if America was just to, because if American military was for the people, All they would do was just park. All right. all that Navy, you see those Navy aircraft carriers parked on the shores of the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Pacific. Okay, and the nigga went there. Okay, the Air Force. Okay, would be patrolling. All right, the airspace of America. You see, if the military was for your benefit. Okay, but no, the military served the interests of the elite, and what we seen them do in Gaza, they were using what a lot of Palantir. Okay, and what was the ICE agents using? Facial recognition technology, man. Okay, because they're prepping to turn America into a surveillance state. He gonna go into some more. I just want to go into this real quick. All right, because they're gonna turn the American. All right, their thing is to turn America into a police state. Okay, the New World Order is gonna be one big surveillance police state. Okay, Hunger Game type. All right, it says U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) agents have engaged in training, technology sharing, and operational change with the Israeli, all right, Defense Force, the IDF. Okay, so what the hell is the IDF doing working with ICE, man? Showing you there's one and the same, man. Okay, because these small hats, they run America, they own America, man. Okay, the America is a company of the Rothschilds, man. Okay, when Donald Trump was in debt, who bailed Donald Trump out of debt, man? I think the elder brother Tyler once said about 200 banks. You know, they bailed Trump out of debt, man, and it was the Rothschilds, man. Okay, that's why you see Trump. His whole agenda is to forward what? Okay, the agenda of the Rothschilds, man, the elite banking family, man. Okay, Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, he's a small hat. Both of Trump daughters are married to small hats, man. Okay, so the America is nothing but an extension of Amalek, man. You see, it says a relationship that has drawn scrutiny from activists and watchdog groups concerned about the militarization of domestic, all right, immigration enforcement, man. So you Americans have no idea. You know, you sit and look at the treatment of Gaza, which they're down with them Palestinians. Okay. But you look at the treatment of the IDF and the genocide on those Palestinians. Well, they finna bring that here. They're bringing that technology here. Okay, and ICE, gave a glimpse because they do trial runs. They put ICE out there heavy. Okay, killed a few American citizens. You see, and that's what they do all the time in the IDF, man. And they finna bring that style of militant policing here to America, man. Okay, to you people, they finna go to war with you Americans, man. Okay, your government is finna go into full-blown war with you, man. Okay, let's play this.
Inputs like labor, consumption, tax base, military recruitment, political legitimacy through electoral theater. You understand? And the brutal reality is that those inputs that you represent are becoming less and less necessary. Automation is coming. Artificial intelligence is coming. It's restructuring the whole economic rationale for enormous portions of the working population. And the people who own that technology, the people who own the systems that are about to displace tens of millions of workers in America, they're the same people who own the surveillance architecture, the surveillance infrastructure, the surveillance systems, the political infrastructure, the media infrastructure, and the security apparatus. They don't need you the way they used to. And a population that isn't economically necessary to the ownership class is a population that needs to be managed rather than cultivated, rather than appeased. You understand? You're transitioning in their accounting books from being an asset to a liability. And you know what is done with a liability, don't you? No, the counterinsurgency infrastructure that's being built right now is not a response to an existing insurgency. It is preparation for the social consequences of mass economic displacement that's already underway. I said the cage is being built before the crisis arrives, so that when the crisis arrives, the cage is ready and they can corral you right on into it. You've got surveillance drones already flying above American cities, not in Afghanistan, not in Yemen, over your own neighborhoods, over your own streets. Drones mapping, tracking, building a continuous picture of how populations move in your cities, where they gather, where the people gather. Don't you think for a minute that those drones are not going to eventually be armed drones? Yes, they will. You've already got facial recognition infrastructure in your transit systems, your buses, your trains, and so forth, in your public spaces, in your commercial environments, obviously, in the malls and whatnot. That data is retained and it's cross-referenced with financial data, social media data, employment data, and the behavioral profiles being built by the surveillance architecture. Financial deplatforming as punishment without trial has already happened. No charges, no conviction, no due process. This is already happening in your country. Your account gets closed, your payment processor drops you, your insurance gets denied because you're in a category, You donated to the wrong organization, you attended the wrong event, you shared the wrong posts on social media, and so forth. Why do you think Sam Altman, the owner of OpenAI, why do you think that he's now talking about universal basic income and you get excited about that? Like it would be a win. Sam Altman. It's not a win, it's a chain around your throat. It means a financial system, turning the financial system completely into a tool for behavior modification. We lock you into some sort of UBI, universal basic income, and at the same time, we dismantle your means of earning an independent income. Now we decide whether you eat or not. You understand me? You expand now the definition of domestic terrorism so it can cover any sort of coherent opposition to the system, not violence, not real terrorism, just opposition. Think about it. The same way that the US previously created a dollar dependency system all around the world, how they created dollar dependency globally, and that enabled them to economically punish countries through unilateral sanctions. Okay, well, this same concept is now being tailored on an individualized basis for the domestic population through this.
That's a good point. So the same way America has been able to sanction nations where they're going to, all right, take that ability to another level to where they can sanction each individual. Okay? To where you're subjugated to be sanctioned. All right? And another word for that is debanking. Which we'll get that. Let's let him play a little more and we'll get that word debanking, which that's just nothing but preparation for this programmable money. Okay? And because they're going to be able to social engineer people on a whole nother level, man. Okay? Which they do it now. All right? The credit score is nothing but because that's what China got the social credit score from, was Americans' credit score. When these Chinese diplomats came over, okay, government officials came over and they see that America had a credit score, okay, and they see that it modified the behavior, okay, of American citizens, okay, because people go and take on debt just to get, all right, credit. So that's what you call behavior modification. You just modified your behavior, all right, to try to get a particular score in the system. Okay, that's behavior modification. In China, all right, they took it to another level. Okay, with the social credit score. So now your social behavior is linked to what? Your financial privilege, okay? Or lack of, man. You see? So it plays a little more.
UBI concept. See, now you've got those homeless detention center or that homeless detention facility in Utah, which is clearly not about homelessness. You've got fusion centers that are collating data on people across federal, state, and corporate layers. You've got predictive policing algorithms. You've got employer background checks that are going to be ideological. We're talking about a control system, a very totalistic control system where your classification, understand, your classification, not your actions, your classification is going to determine your access to employment, to financial services, to movement, whether or not you have any income whatsoever. This is not the future I'm talking about. This is the present, just in various stages of development. It's already happening. This is why I'm telling you, you have to understand the context that you live in. You have to understand the trajectory that your society is on. And you cannot come up with tactics, you cannot come up with strategies to try to help yourself if you do not understand the context that you live in. You're not reading the room. I don't know how anyone could get excited about the prospect of UBI in 2026, living in the system that you're living in, and think that it's going to be anything other than a tool of totalistic control over you. Do you remember the pandemic, or after the pandemic, they were talking about build back better, all that build back better rhetoric? Well, let's talk about what they built. Enough time has passed. Let's look at what they actually built. Look at the actual thing. Look at the receipts. You can lie about all sorts of things in this world. You can lie about your intentions. You can lie about your motives. You can lie about what you believe in, right? You can lie about all sorts of things. And no one can ever really be sure whether any of what you say is true. But your actions, though, your actions are what they are. So you can talk about we're going to build back better, but now time has passed. So we can look at what's been built or what hasn't been built. The building is the building and the wreckage is the wreckage. Either you built or you didn't build, and either it's better or it's not better. Now we can look at that. So let's look at America since they started this whole build back better nonsense, or you can even say this make America greater nonsense. Start with the bankruptcies. In 2024, American business bankruptcies hit the highest level that they had ever hit since 2017, over 23,000 businesses. In 2025, that went even higher, 25,000. Large corporate bankruptcies, the billion-dollar plus failures, that hit the highest level since the so-called Great Recession since 2010. We're talking years after you started building back better. You understand? The big corporate bankruptcies through the first half of 2025 were running 43% above pre-pandemic averages, 43% higher. Build back better, make America great again. You built the worst bankruptcy number since the financial crisis. That's what you built. Okay, look at the layoffs. In 2025, over 1.2 million jobs were cut in a single year. That's the highest number since 2020. And 2020 was the pandemic. Q4 of 2025, 260,000 layoffs.
Yeah, so this is what they've been building back better. And when you talking about build back better, it's talking about a better control system. Okay, the petrodollar has ran its course. Now it's time for a new currency that's going to enable them, okay, to control citizens. All right, like they've been able to control countries with sanctions, man. Because even when you look at with Iran, all right, one of the main things about Iran is they want to get those sanctions put out for them, man. Okay, because those sanctions, put hell on these nations, man. Now they are able to operate outside the sanctions because they have, all right, a role in prophecy, man. Okay, which is to destroy America, before they're destroyed by Yahushua. Okay, but you look at the concept of sanctions, man. It has crippled, these nations. All right, and a lot of these nations that because even along with American military, man, the thing that a lot of these nations fear more than direct military conflict is that goddamn sanction, man, that petrodollar, man. Okay, now to get people used to this programmable money, all right, and this social credit system that they, all right, plan on bringing to America. So I asked, is de-banking happening in America today? It says yes, de-banking, the practice of banks closing or freezing customer accounts, often with little explanation, all right, explanation, is happening in America, but is currently under intense scrutiny and faces new federal restriction as of late 2025 and early 2026. Concerns have entered on the targeting of individuals and businesses based on political, social, or religious views. Okay? Political, social, or religious views, man. So, hey, brothers, don't be surprised. Even you sisters as well, because they know who watch the videos. Okay? Okay, so being associated with this group or that group could cause us to get debanked in the future, man. These things are going to be realities, man. Okay, they do it, on a small scale now with these certain podcasters, and Well, don't be surprised, man, when the devil really push their propaganda, we start getting debanked, and, so forth and so on. All right, as well as industry like crypto, firearms, and energy. That go with that energy, man. Okay, so yeah, we see what these devils are gearing up for, man. All right, and matter of fact, what's that? If a brother want to get that, the Deagle, I can't even remember. We went into so much. Then my brother want to post that real quick in Revelation 12. Is it 12 and 10? If you have but a short time. Okay. And then he devil, they done took so much off. Yeah, let's go here. That's heavy. The brother just mentioned that that Deagle report. So you go into the Deagle report. Yeah, I might have to look more into that. Okay. It said the 2025 Deagle report was a controversial, now removed 2014 forecast predicting dramatic population declines, specifically in Western nations like the US and UK by 2025, while providing no direct explanation. Okay. So you go down to key predictions, it said projected a roughly 70% population drop for the US. Okay, and significant reductions in Europe, while countries like China and India remain relatively stable, man. So there's no telling what, but this sound because these devils are moving all their assets to the east, man. Because even all those jobs that they're saying AI is replacing, it's people in the east getting those jobs, man. Okay, they're taking those jobs and giving them to people in the east and saying that there's AI replacing them. That's another thing with this AI job replacing. No, they're just stripping American from jobs and giving them to people in the east. Okay, so man, yeah, it's gonna be hell over here in America, man. I had to look more into that Beagle report. It was 2014, so they probably done scrubbed a lot of it, since then. Okay, but yeah, it's gonna be heavy, man. It's a terrible time to be an American, man. All right, this is on Revelation 12 and 12. It said, therefore, rejoice, you heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Okay, you see, and the scripture say our conversation is in the heavens. See, all right, we're not Americans, man. We're Israelites, man. We're sons of God. We're daughters. Sisters, daughters of Zion, man. We're not Americans, man. Okay, we have an expectation beyond America. Okay, but you Americans, all right. Well, there's Americans, a mindset, a belief system, okay, of folly, okay, confusion. You see, it said, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell therein them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that ye have but a short time, man. And the devil, and that's from the brother servants of Yahweh 144, the water Akia. But yeah, man, the devil, time is not he has all the money, all his military might, okay, all his influence, but the devil, he don't have abundance of time. Okay, so expect this nigga to get tacky, more frantic, more impulsive, and he gonna have to get more radical, man, to move the needle. Okay, for this new world order, especially here in America, man. Okay, expect it to go bananas in America, man. This gonna be a hell of a year. Okay, so Lord will, you brothers, All right, and you sisters edified once again. I'm gonna give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful. Shalom.